Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Urban AI webinar dedicated to the Urban AI Academy. It's a great pleasure of welcoming you. It's not an Urban AI conversation, or it's a kind of different Urban AI conversation, but as usual, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat to let us know like who you are, what you are doing, where you come from, and why you are joining also maybe specifically this webinar. And you can also see that today we have quite a few people actually for this special Urban AI Academy episode. So maybe I will do the introductions first. So we have Laura Narvaez-Zertuche. Hi, Laura.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Laura, who is partner at Foster and Partner. You might definitely know her if you've been following Urban AI for the last few years or the last few months. She was really one of the very first Urban AI member, also co-author of the Urban AI Guide, and instructor at the Urban AI Academy. We also have with us Silvia Verace. Hi, Silvia.
Hi, everybody.
So Silvia, who is head of public infrastructures and data strategy at A2A, so an Italian leading company and also a participant of the Urban AI Academy. We also have Farah Kassab. Hi, Farah.
Hello, Hubert. Hello, everyone.
So Farah is the founder of Development X Design, so consulting and urban development company based in Dubai, and also a member of the Urban AI Academy. Then we have Nicolas Milojevic Dupont. Hi, Nicolas.
Hi, Hubert. Hi, everyone.
Nicola is postdoctoral researcher. He's also freelancer and the instructor actually of the ongoing module, the Geo AI in Urban Planning module. So great to have you, Nicola. And lastly, last but not least, we have Omer. Hi, Omer.
Hi, everyone.
Omer, who is the manager of the Urban AI Academy, and you will see that he will be our guide during this entire session dedicated to the Academy. So you will see that actually it's a kind of very informal discussion that we will have during this 1 hour. The goal is really to share with you the journey of some of our instructors, some of our students, and also actually to present you some of changes we've been doing for the last few weeks. Maybe if you've been following Urban AI, you might have seen those changes on the Urban AI Academy. So we'll explain everything, the new certificate path, the new format of the modules, the new workshop, etc., etc. A few words about the Urban AI Academy. It's run by Urban AI, which is a global organization dedicated to the emerging field of urban artificial intelligence. Our mission is to urbanize artificial intelligence. And a few months ago, actually, we launched the Academy, really with the objective, with the goal of educating at scale international practitioner and researcher on urban artificial intelligence. And so how we're doing it in collaboration with instructors, so who are basically some of the best in their own field. And those instructors, they are teaching through module like different tools, if you want, different way of using urban artificial intelligence. So here, for example, we have two of our instructors, Laura and Nicola. Maybe, Laura, first question would be for you, actually. Could you present your module, which is actually the first module of the Academy, defining Urban AI? So what is the module about, and what can participants teach, in a sense, when they go through your module and the toolkits?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So the first module of the course is really, in a way, setting the scene of what is Urban AI and the framework of what Urban AI means, not only theoretically, but also in practical terms and what that means in real world case studies. So the first thing is that we start by defining what it is. And I think, Urban has described a little bit of the Academy and the history of what Urban AI comes from, but also trying to understand what is the implications of AI within cities in the terms of how can we unfold and break down the different components on how the city reacts to new technologies and digital technologies, and therefore how we can best manage the different aspects of cities. And we start to, let's say, break down the layers. You can probably say that as a layer cake of the city, as I call it. What are the different layers of the city in which AI or digital technologies are actually embedded into it? Because AI is a really vast, area that every one of us is already experimenting in different ways in our different fields, but everyone applies it differently. So I guess it's a matter of covering different areas of how we live, how we move around, how we experience cities, and therefore within our own field of expertise of work, how can we best understand, manage, plan, design, implement these technologies, understanding that there are not only advancements of technologies to be applied or a lot of big data to use, but at the same time is what is the impact of those technologies of that data, and also where does, as we say, the human in the loop comes in, where does governance, where does the ethics come in place, in which in the end of the day it is for us to define, to manage, to better control, let's say, these kind of things. So I think the first module talks about all these aspects and gives examples on how certain trends have come into place. Probably the most obvious one, which a lot of people know about, is the digital twin conversations, digital twin cities. And a lot of cities have been implementing that kind of approach in order to better understand, for example, traffic demand, to understand the water network infrastructure, water management, energy demands, as everybody talks about being sustainable for the future. But what does that really mean? It's really about managing different aspects of the city. Everybody talks about smart cities. What does actually smart really mean? So I think this is where we touch upon, what aspects do those come into place with real case scenarios from different cities, and every city has their own needs, their own demand, their own culture, their own climate, and their own priorities, I might add. So not everything can be resolved. We love to have the perfect smart city, but I don't think there's any of it. And it's just showcasing what that means in the real world, and also what that means in terms of design practice as well. I'm a person that works in a design practice at Foster's, where we design, plan, think about cities, public realm, placemaking, smart cities, of course, sustainable approaches. But how do you design something with having these technologies in mind, and therefore have that embedded, not only thinking for the future of a city, but also thinking in the design process. We gave example of a project that I worked along in the past, Amaravati, which it was built with a client, a digital twin city. And the aspects of the pros and cons, the wins and the failures at the same time. So what can you learn from it? And then it moves on to different case studies that different cities have approached urban AI technologies and approaches in different ways. Some of them quite advanced in terms of climate and environmental concerns, others more climatic concerns, and others very more specific, more tailored things for their own needs. So putting all that into the course, it gives the participant to learn what it really means, and not just to understand the buzziness that AI actually does. And if I may, probably one of the lessons learned is great conversations with a lot of the students that attended, And it made us realize a little bit that people have some knowledge or understanding of AI, but the complexity of what that means within an urban environment, within a city, even in their own city that they live, it's really very, very small. So I think it's widening that perspective, and also that it's collaborative, it's interdisciplinary. Urban AI is not just one aspect, is several aspects, and it's a collaboration between many of us that we need to try to think about in a way. So that's basically, if I can summarize that's mainly the course. It's setting the scene of what it really means, what we have, what we don't have, what probably the gaps might be, and what the future might bring us.
Well, thanks a lot, Laura. Thanks for also highlighting the importance of the collaborative parts of urban AI, the fact that it also aims at bringing us closer, in a sense, to each other in terms of expertise, in terms also of very humanly. I would definitely recommend, like, for students actually entering the academy, starting with your module. I mean, they can decide on, because they have the choice between all the modules, but it's definitely, for all the reasons you shared, a perfect introduction to the complexity of urban artificial intelligence, and also getting familiar with different layers, like the different technological components of urban AI, definitely.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I mean, you mentioned at the beginning, Hubert, there was the Urban AI Guide. Some of the aspects of that module stems from that guide that we started a long time ago, because it's kind of like that taxonomy, as we call it, that taxonomy of the urban AI components. A lot of people hear around data centers and sensors and data visualization and all these aspects, but what do they really mean? So I think we are disclosing all those aspects into real world. So the guide is something that we made theoretical. It's obviously evolving. But within that course, we expand a lot more what that means in reality, and ending up with very, we hopefully are useful links as well, references, material, and even things that are more practical, technical terms that people can learn from as well.
Thanks a lot, Laura. And indeed, the guide is available fully online. You just type Urban AI Guide and you have it. We also have Nicola. So Nicola, a good pleasure of having you. Maybe can you tell us more about your module? So your module is on GeoAI. Actually, it's still happening. We had the workshop 2 days ago, so it's still fresh in our mind. But maybe can you tell more about the objectives and also like what you are teaching basically through this module?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, first, I would also second your suggestion for students to look at Laura's module to start that journey, because as an instructor, I got access to all the material and I went through it, and it was very interesting, and so great stuff in there. But I will also advocate for maybe my module as the second one, because it's also bringing some foundational aspects that are more going towards the methods part. So when talking about urban AI, actually, how does this AI work? And so I'm not talking in general about urban AI because that's maybe too broad, but I'm talking about actually one pretty large subset of what urban AI is, I believe, which is geospatial AI. So really looking at this part of AI that has to do with space, right? With physical space in cities, and cities are a lot about physical space, right? So this is actually quite often relevant, and this can also have like a temporal dimensions, special temporal problems. So that have to do with urban planning, with also transportation planning, and not only planning but also operations. So I also have like a toolkit that talks about the different aspects, that goes through kind of the different technological role that geospatial AI can have. So how can you use it, like kind of like a high level idea, like what can you do with geospatial AI? We have some also some use cases, and because I have like more of a climate background, these are a bit more of a climate edge. Exactly. And then we also have a workshop, as Hubert mentioned, is just fresh of the oven a couple of days ago, and we went through actually actualizing this concept and these techniques that are exposed during during the main lecture and in the expert toolkit. They're actualized in a workshop that's done on Google Colab. So it's like a Jupyter notebook, and we've been through different steps of, so essentially we've been through together during 2 hours through a whole data science, so geospatial data science pipeline. So starting with, what's our problem, which data are we using, comparing different tools, some also very simple ones to like something that's a bit more advanced with geospatial embeddings, as they are called, so graph neural networks. Looking at what is the impact of using a tool or another in terms of how well you will predict certain things. So we're using a use case on predicting some information about the building stock, and trying to think at the end of the day, these AI methods, they are going to be, like, the goal is at the end of the day not only to do some interesting research about them, but actually using them to have an impact on the ground. So making decision in terms of planning, in terms of operation. So you have to also look at what's the quality of your results, and what where are the errors, what's the impact of all this. So this is also something we're looking at in the workshop, taking a specific use case of assessing a city's exposure to heat waves. So which part of the building stock is affected by heat wave the most. And so if you are making an error in how you are predicting your building stock, like how is this going to impact the real world decision that you are making? So kind of like going at the high level for all of this, but I think this is kind of giving you some at the same time some kind of like high level understanding, and also a bit of like hands-on kind of starting point. And as Laura mentioned, we also have all sort of additional materials to dig deeper after like these few hours of initial kind of introduction to the topic. There's different pathways to, if you want to go further, kind of deepen your understanding of it.
That's really, and thanks for sharing, Nicolas, a very rich, actually a very dense module you've been creating, either through the foundational lecture, so the theoretical you were describing, or even the workshop we had 2 days ago. Usually it's 1 hour and a half. In your case, it was 2 hours, because you demonstrated like a lot of methodologies, a lot of GeoAI technologies also. And you said it, but as I was a kind of student also when attending the room, in a sense, and what I really liked, it was that you were also showing like the technical possibility of malfunction, like the risk, possible technological risk, for example, of using AI agents for geospatial analysis. So you demonstrated how to use those technology, and they are super useful, and sometimes they look quite magical when they plot, like they make appear as a map. That's super cool, but sometimes they're not working. So that's also very interesting, this kind of very ethical and human-centric approach you are bringing. And I think it's a kind of common, something we all have in common in the academy, and you're all sharing with instructors this kind of very ethical approach. Sorry, you wanted to.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to first thank you for this compliment, and and say that I think this was something very important to me, and I think that's very something important in general in this kind of approaches, or this kind of academies too, because there are all these new tools that are coming, and there are different actors that are like, everybody's trying to sell them their tools, right? And then when you don't necessarily have a lot of technical knowledge to understand what works, what doesn't work, it can be a bit confusing, and so sometimes certain things can look a bit over-promising, or you can also just be afraid of like not wanting to use the tool because you think, oh, maybe like I don't understand it. So this is really something I've tried to do, and I think this academy is trying to do, to kind of take a stock take of what's the current capabilities of these different techniques, having an idea of what they can do already, what they cannot really do so well, and a bit of an idea of like what are the future trends, because everything is moving super fast, right? But so maybe what I've been saying this year, in 2 or 3 years, things are going to be different, but maybe some odd things are also going to stay. So I think it's important to do this kind of differentiation.
Maybe a question actually, which is a continuation of your remark, and this question might be for the both of you, Laura and Nicolas. So you described some limitations and also the needs to have a kind of technical knowledge to manipulate even AI agents. So for you, what skills do you believe are essentials to master urban AI in the future? Do you believe it's more soft skills, kind of creativity, kind of curiosity? Because Nicolas, for example, mentioned that maybe some elements might be obsolete in 1 or 2 years, or do you believe it's more kind of very important hard skills in coding, in data analysis, or in modeling? So maybe Laura, you first, and then Nicolas.
Well, I don't think it's not one or the other. I think it's a combination of both. And it also depends the focus of it, because you cannot be a full-on coder unless you want to be, that's of course, or in terms of the soft skills and communication and what that means. But I guess it's in the field also what you're working on. Some of them are more technical than others, but it's always important to have the combination of both, because more and more the tendency is to have more coding expertise, which is true. But you don't have to learn the whole world of coding. Is what do you want to use it for? For me, the skills is really, it's not just the know-how, is for what? For the purpose. What's the purpose that you want to get out of? So at least this is the way I see it. So I think it's a combination of definitely communication, which inquires, allows for collaboration, dialogue, and understanding from other disciplines that needs to be, put on the table when it comes to creating this urban AI approaches or solutions, let's say, or proposals. The technical aspects is something that it's understanding at least how if you want to be a coder yourself, that's fine, but otherwise understand the language. So I'll give you my own example. I cannot say that I'm a coder myself. I coded a long time ago, but I wouldn't say that maybe I'm an expert like Nicola, but I understand it. What it's used for, how it works, what does it create, and for what. So if you have that understanding, then you can collaborate, work with people that know how to do that better than you, but then you do it together and you join forces because you're better at other things, right? So I think, and I think for me, that's the key of collaboration, right? You can join yourselves in the geospatial world, for instance, of data scientists, of GIS experts and analysts, but at the same time, an architect can also be part of that conversation, or someone that is in the engineering side of things, or someone that is completely on the anthropological side of things, right? So I think that the combination for me is mostly the power of having the types of skills that you want, but it really lies in the purpose, and the purpose is, it depends. So I don't know, Nicola, maybe you have a different view on this.
No, I actually very much agree, and I think, I think, yeah. So I think what is very important is to understand what's coming inside the model and what's coming out of it, not necessarily understanding what's in the middle. And I think, I think AI is actually making this central part also more accessible to more people. So like, I think no one really always understands everything that's in the middle, right? I mean, you don't have to very few people actually understand all the mathematics, all the code, it's so many layers of when I'm just like importing a function or importing a model, then this function is importing something that's importing something that, I don't understand all of this, but I'm still able to, run all this code. And what's all this AI agents are doing for us, and they also make it even more simple to just by writing a prompt, not even having to do this part of coding, which I think at some point, like if you really want to write the code yourself, you should understand a little bit. And I think like AI agents are more and more helping to write most of the code. But if you really don't understand at all the language, it's still going to be tricky to write like consistent code. But I don't think this is the most important. The most important for me is really to understand what's entering in the model. So really having a good understanding of what's the application for which you are using this. So, and not only at the high level, but also really understanding, well, what's the data. So, and is where are the issues with the data, how the data is specifically in your cities, because this is going to be crucial as to whether the model can succeed or not in doing something. And then understanding, like having a good understanding of what's coming out of the model, so knowing how to evaluate, how a model is good or bad for a specific application. So, and this also requires like a lot of kind of domain knowledge, because what is a good or bad model really depends on what you're going to do with it. And so also have to think like through this whole kind of pathway to an impact, like what is going to be the different also impacts of what your errors are going to have. So it's I think it's really a matter of like really understanding deeply the application, which has some technical aspects. So I would not say that you don't, like, the technicality is only within the model. I think it's very important to also think about the technicality outside of the AI implementation itself. And I think this is, for me, what's really the key. And then in terms of implementation, then if you understand well the whole context, then you don't necessarily have to understand everything from the AI itself, and then you can delegate this to another human being, and partially also to an AI.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I think it's you cannot solve the problems of the world, right? So you actually focus on what is needed on the problem itself. And it's interesting that you mentioned data, because there's a lot of information out there, pretty much accessible. It's not all data is useful, I would say. It's what can you use from that information, what is valuable, and what you really need to disclose. Even that type of skill, it's not just cleaning the data within the map and attributes. No, it's also understanding the information, where it's coming from, what does it tell you. So I think in order to get an application or implementation, as you say, Nicola, well worth it. So I think this is the understanding for me. It's really about purpose. It needs to have a purpose, and therefore it's tailored. I always say that any AI implementation needs to be tailored. It cannot be so broadly, because otherwise probably it won't tell you much.
So yeah,
okay. And just a tiny last thing on data. Sorry, I think I have some lag. Yeah, a tiny last thing on data. I think also, like, one misconception that can also happen is that we're always telling that we have so much data these days, and that we have data on anything. And actually, there's a lot of cases in my own experience and in many others where we actually don't have good enough data for a lot of machine learning problems. And then the real first problem is actually to get first better data before you can do anything. So I think it's really understanding the data is like the starting point. I mean, like, the starting point is to understand the problem, but then the second thing is really to think, okay, I have this problem. Do I have the data to do some AI for this problem? And then if all this seems kind of like okay, then say, okay, let's see if I should use a simple model or a complex model or an AI agent or something. But there's a lot that comes before.
Well, thanks a lot, really, Nicola, Laura, for sharing your pearl of wisdoms on this topic. As I'm listening to you, I figure out we could have done an entire webinar actually on this question, but we have a timing to respect.
Let's do it.
Let's
do it.
We will do it, but we have a timing to respect. We discussed several times, and we mentioned several times the learning platforms where you have the module that are available, the toolkit, etc. So now Omer will actually show very concretely this platform, what it looks like. So Omer, the floor is all yours.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Omar Juma. I am the manager for Urban AI Academy. If you are already part of it, you know I'm the main point of contact. And if you join, I will be the person that you will talk to throughout your experience. What I'll do is I'll show you two things right now, and then I'll come back and then share more details about the program itself. So two things I'm showing you would be the modules and then the learning platform. So let me start with the modules and sort of giving you updates on what the program looks like generally behind the scenes. So Nicola and Laura provided some details about the modules. When you sign up or when you're on our website, you'll see that we have distinct modules. We have 11 current modules. So this also includes Nicola's ongoing module and 3 upcoming modules for fall 2025. You can pick and choose modules as well. We have different tiers and different points of entry for different participants based on your schedules, based on your topic interests as well. And each module is going to have 3 to 4 sessions. Previously, we had about 10 modules that had only one module, but based on fantastic feedback from our participants, there was a lot of interest in workshops and practical demonstrations of tools and AI technologies as well. So we've incorporated that into the module experience, and we would have about 3 or 4 sessions per module. So the first session will be the foundational lecture. The second session will be a workshop. And if the module is being taught by 2 instructors, you'll have another workshop. And in the workshops, you will also learn about a short assignment. And the following week, you will share that assignment with your peers and with the instructor, and you get live feedback. And there's also opportunity to receive Urban AI certifications. I'll talk about this towards the end of the webinar, so stay tuned. The instructors for fall 2025, you've already heard from Nicola. And next week, we will be starting the module with Ki Moon. Then we have another module with Tanya and Deepika. Nicola is Nicola, you already heard from him. Ki Moon, he is from MIT San Diego City. Tanya is a postdoctoral researcher at University of Leiden. And Deepika is also a postdoctoral researcher at ETH Zurich. And this is a new module that we just added, so we're happy to announce that Tabia, who is a researcher and urban environmental scientist at Utrecht University and University of Cambridge, she will be co-authoring the last module for fall 2025 with Federico Fernandez, who is the CEO of Urbanly. And this is sort of the program of module. So the upcoming one is LLM Augmented Urban Planning. You receive access for the learning platform. There's the expert toolkit that's uploaded. You have the lecture. The following week, you have the workshop, and then you have the assignment session as well. When there are multiple instructors, you have 2 workshops within the week. And all the sessions are happening on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evening, so between 4 and 6 p.m. CET. And yeah, you get the point of, like, it's everything is packaged within 3 weeks of experience as well. I'll get back to the certifications in a bit. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and briefly show you what the platform looks like. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is a sneak peek to our platform, and this is, you see 3 different tabs. There's training, startups, and article. Startups contains sort of recommended startups from our end. We also have a lot of articles. This whole list is curated by Hubert and myself, and then we look at the content that is published by different people in the Urban AI community, and then we populate it over there. What I want to focus today are the trainings. So, for example, if I open up Nicola's module over here, this is the current module right now. You get information. You see the different recordings and recording transcripts are there as well. You have the module summary, a lot of detail. This information is expanding on what the lecture was about as well. There are a lot of images as well, and key tools, databases, more information. So you don't have to just digest everything from 1.5 hours of lecture and then the workshop. You can also expand on your knowledge going through the database, going through the expert toolkit. There are a lot of links for you to explore, and then there are 3 use cases for you to explore. I'm not zooming in and scrolling, but you get the idea. And there are key takeaways, future trends, reflection prompts, as well as tons of resources and at points, videos and software tutorials for you to expand your knowledge on this topic as well. And we have that for all the modules that have already happened, and we'll be uploading content for all the upcoming modules as well. I'll stop sharing my screen here and
amazing. Thanks a lot, Omer, for the presentation. So indeed, you said it, but each module is quite relatively dense in a sense, but positively dense. And so every week you have sessions. You also have peer-to-peer sessions with like other members of the academy. So like it's a lot, but you can reflect on it also, let's say, with a toolkit. And the platform, in a sense, the learning platform, the goal is really like to give you resources, like a kind of starting point through which you can go further. So you have the toolkit, like from the instructors, but you also have all the other resources Omer shared.
Exactly. If I may just add one sentence, we do recognize that a lot of the participants are coming from different levels of their knowledge about urban AI. So that's why the resources are there, so that people can, if you're coming in with no knowledge of urban AI, you can really build it from scratch. If you already have some knowledge of urban AI, you can go to the topics that interest you and polish your knowledge, polish your skills, or expand on that topic. So we're aware of the types of participants that are joining the academy.
Thanks a lot, Omer. I think we will see you again in a few minutes. So now time to welcome, in a sense, our students, and we will start with Sylvia. So hi again, Sylvia. Really great pleasure.
Hi, Hubert, it's Farah here.
Great pleasure of having you, Farah, and actually of having our students today. So maybe first question for you, Farah, as a participant of the Academy. I think you were really one of the first ones to join the Academy. Could you tell us more first about yourself, actually, like what is your background, what you're doing, and also why you were interested like in elevating your skills in urban AI?
Great, thanks so much, Hubert, for inviting me to share my experience. So my background is I'm an urban planner, around 15 years here in the Middle East, particularly working in the UAE and the region around. And basically, kind of just a few months before I joined the Academy, I had founded my own company, Development by Design, and it had 2 objectives. It's mainly kind of continuing to present my expertise in urban planning as advisory on master plan projects in the region. But the second piece, which was my passion project for a long time, which is sort of creating a community around urban development that focuses on knowledge sharing. And from that stream, I would support with coaching and corporate training for professionals who are trying to look at their career ahead and how they might maybe increase their impact within projects. So what really attracted me to urban AI was particularly the fact that what I saw on social media sort of made it so far. What does AI mean for urbanism? We weren't seeing anyone talking about beyond just those renderings and things like that. So it was kind of coming from a curiosity, as Amir mentioned, some people come in with sort of just really very little knowledge, and I wanted to challenge that. So that was probably the main part, which is as a professional in the field, what does it mean for me is in practicing urban planning, but also as someone who's trying to build a community and share the knowledge and guide other practitioners, what does that look like for talent in the specific field? Because right now it's kind of like all our jobs are going to be affected by AI, but in fact, the program gave me a lot more depth and insight on that aspect.
If I may ask, and actually maybe just before a remark that you are becoming more than a student because you even actually animated a session as part of the academy. It was like giving the history, urban history. I think it was of Abu Dhabi.
Yes,
Abu Dhabi.
yes.
So yeah, that was super cool, actually, super interesting. This session you shared as part of the academy, and I think that's really the spirit we're trying to have, like something that is really kind of bottom up and very collaborative, where we are quite close to our participants and our students. How, do you already have a vision of how AI might transform now your job or maybe some of your projects in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to sort of add to your note about the relationship with the students. It's very well integrated, whether it's yourself and Omer, how much you're involved, but also the mentorship sessions that were offered in our cohort. I think that really brought every individual closer to the topic or those individual professors. So that kind of builds on kind of answering your question, which is, for me, using the mentorship session allowed me to kind of take some of the reflections I was seeing into my day-to-day, and echoing what Laura and Nicola were talking about, which is, what are the applicable use cases? So for example, for me, I was doing some projects, collaborating with environmental specialists. I was starting to see the process. I was already familiar with it as a project manager of mega, complex master plan developments, but then seeing a particular process and thinking, well, it's very data-driven, it's very repetitive, and we're starting to see, GIS using GIS being applied through large language models. So you speak to GIS to give you results, in a way that gave me these reflection pieces. And I thought, how can we transform maybe one aspect of the process of the environmental planning, and maybe automate it or sort of bring the power of urban AI into it? And through the mentorship session, I was paired with the right person who challenged me, grounded me in terms of, what really defining that problem statement, and just again echoing the professors that were on the call, that really understanding what is the problem and do you have the right data to sort of pair it with the right technology. So that's one of the ways I'm looking at it. And then on the sort of a big picture, as I talk to professionals, whether I'm coaching or giving a corporate training, being able to talk about urban AI in a more specific way, whether if it's for someone's career path, how they want to future-proof their career, or how might they consider about using AI in their in their workplace or their day-to-day, or consider bringing this innovation into their workflow.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, really, Farah, for sharing your journey, and also in a sense how Urban AI is serving also coaching activity. That's super interesting. Not only and it's already a lot urban project, but also how kind of a relational coaching projects you can also leverage those concepts. We also have the great pleasure of having with us Silvia Verace. Hi, Silvia.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thank you.
So maybe Silvia, I'm sure actually you were also one of our very first students. You registered, it was as a team. So you can either register individually, as did Farah, or as a team. So Silvia, it was through your company A2A. So maybe same question. Could you share your journey, your background, actually also, and what brings you to Urban AI? What did you want to, which kind of skills you were looking for?
Of course, thank you. It's a pleasure. Well, I decided to join the academy because I was looking for inspiration, and I actually have found what I was looking for. I have a background in urban and transport planning. I used to work as a consultant. Then I moved in a corporate environment, leading projects aimed at decarbonizing and develop sustainable mobility in Italy, especially in Italy. So I work closely with municipalities shaping projects for the decarbonization of urban mobility here in A2A. A2A is a very large group. We are 12,000 employees. And we work in several sectors, such as waste management, water management, and smart infrastructures, in which I lead these projects. What I actually work. I've always worked with data, both when I was a consultant then now, and what I wanted to do was to understand how AI could actually help me to do a step forward within my project. And I have found what I was looking for, the lessons and the diverse backgrounds of the professors, of the projects and use cases that has been shown, and also the different sectors, because there were examples from the public sectors, from the academic world, from the consultancy world. All these diverse environment helped me to find the inspiration that I was looking for. And so, as you know, Hubert, after the first module, I have presented within the company, within Dateway, within a challenge that the company launched, a project aimed at helping cities to manage the climate risk through the usage of environmental data. And this project is growing within the company, so I'm sure that the academy really helped me to shape the idea and to find the inspiration that I was looking for. So that's my journey.
Thanks a lot, Silvia, for sharing. Thanks also for sharing indeed this internal project growing. That was really wonderful coincidence when you shared it. And actually, I think it was at the same moment we were launching the module on health adaptation with one module from Nadina Gale on AI for green infrastructures. Which is an amazing module, really. I might be, again, biased. And so, yeah, that was definitely a wonderful fit.
I'll keep you updated about the project. And, of course, I'll be happy to share the results when they will be available.
We definitely hope you will win. Definitely.
Thanks.
Now I think it's time, yes, for Omer, actually. Thanks a lot, Silvia. Time for Omer, actually, to present the certification path. This is something where we got a lot of questions, actually, from students, but also from external individuals. So Omer will share more on this and also our different packages. If you have questions, really feel free to ask in the chat, because I know we got several emails on those specific topics. So feel free to share your question in the chat and we will answer during this webinar. Omer, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to continue with the slideshow about the certifications. First of all, thank you to Laura, Nicola, Sylvia, and Farah for sharing their experiences from the perspective of being an instructor, and then from the perspective of being participants in the program as well. And one thing that I would want all the the attendees of the webinar to take away is sort of the experience that we are building in this academy as well. We're really trying to connect all the people as well. We do want to, we have the Urban AI community and then the Urban AI Academy, and the hope is to connect people and move them more and more towards the Urban AI community as well. And one of the ways is the certification experience as well. So let me explain what that really means. So now from fall 2025, we're introducing 3 different levels of certification. So you have Urban AI Practitioner, Urban AI Specialist, and Urban AI Expert. And you sort of build on top of each other. And by the time you become an Urban AI Expert, you're automatically part of the Urban AI community as well, which is a separate component, and you may have knowledge of that if you're attending a lot of our other events and webinars. So for the Urban AI Practitioner, you need to attend minimum 1 live session from 4 different modules. So think about, if you're participating in the fall semester, then you attend one live session from each of the module, and then towards the end in December, you submit a capstone project. I'll tell you more about that in a second as well. So you complete that, and once the jury approves your project, then we will award the Urban AI Practitioner certification. Same way for Urban AI Specialist, you have to attend minimum one live session from total 8 different modules. So if you are participating in the academy for about 6-12 months, then you're able to do the 3 certifications quite easily. And what does that certification really mean? So for Urban AI Practitioner, it's kind of like the level 1. It's application. We're really looking to see if you have developed that skill set of applying Urban AI concepts to real or hypothetical problems, demonstrating your understanding of Urban AI fundamentals and ability to translate them into context. Level 2 is sort of the integration, so using multiple Urban AI tools and methods to one domain. So whatever is of interest to you, mobility, heat, shade, blue-green infrastructure, and then showing your capacity to integrate the tools and evaluate the impacts of each method. And then Urban AI Expert, that's really at the strategy level. So designing a mini Urban AI strategy for a city or an organization, sort of demonstrating your leadership level, synthesis, strategy, multidisciplinary and actionable vision of Urban AI for cities. And if you are part of our academy for about a year, then you're able to do all 3 certifications, and you can build on your previous capstone project as well. What is the capstone project? It consists of 2 components. You have a comprehensive written analysis, which is about 50% of the grade, and then an oral presentation as well, which is the other 50% of the grade. And once you join in, you get more details about the capstone project as well. And the jury sort of evaluates your written analysis as well as the presentation, and then awards you the Urban AI certifications, which are these 3 levels. Yeah, and I'll pause here now. Actually, no, I'm supposed to talk about the pricing as well. So how does it all come together? Hubert mentioned that there are different ways and different tiers in which participants can engage with the Urban AI Academy. Here you're seeing 3 options. There's also a 4th option, which is for teams, and I'll get to that in a second. On the left, you're seeing Essentials, and that gives you a full year access to all the learning materials. So you saw the learning platform. You get sort of the asynchronous learning track. That's what Essentials are. You learn at your own pace. If there are certain topics that you're not interested in, you don't watch those. The ones that are of high interest to you, you go through that. You can learn about the different existing modules, and then when the new modules are added, we update you and you can continue your access as well. And you have access to the library of Urban AI resources as well as the catalog of trusted partners. Then in the middle, that's sort of by module. So if there is a module that is of high interest to you and you want to sign up for that, that is also possible. We got very interesting feedback from different people in the community who wanted to sign up only for one particular module as well. So we have created that option, and it gives you access to 3 live classes, 3 or 4 live classes per module, depending on if there are multiple instructors, and then 3 networking sessions. So this will be during the 3 weeks of the module. And there's integration of the certification path. So even if you're attending one module, you can connect it to a certification path. We can talk about that separately. And then there's full access to the Urban AI Academy library, so the platform that you saw for 30 days. And then expert version is sort of a full year version of these 2 things. So you have full access to live classes throughout the year. And it also leads the path to the certification module, so you can do all 3 certifications as well. And it's basically the amount you're seeing is a 30% discount if you buy the package for the year. If you're interested in joining this as a team, so the expert level or the module level as a team, when you go on our website and you see the pricing section, just below that there is a form to fill out. So reach out to us. We can curate different packages based on your needs as well. And all this to say, I feel what Hubert and I have been working on in the background is to curate different experiences for different types of participants in the program as well. And we do take in a lot of feedback from our participants to improve the program. And we do keep updates with all our participants. So it's not like you're part of the academy and then you're left on your own devices. No, we do shepherd you throughout the experience. And there are a lot of updates and there are a lot of different ways in which we try to engage all the participants, and you contribute based on how much capacity or time you have for that topic.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Julie, Omer, for presenting the different packages. So we got questions. It's now much more clear. And also the certification path. So you might see that it's not that much easy, actually, like you have quite a lot of work, but it was on purpose. We've been reflecting on feedback from our students. And I think the conclusion was really to say, okay, now that you have AI to work with, you can do much better and much more. So that's also why we are, kind of asking so many elements like an oral presentation and written report, etc., etc. And as Omer said, you can do it collaboratively. We're almost already at the end of this webinar. Maybe just before, because we got like a question from, I hope I will pronounce your name, Livy Zvi. So it's not regarding the academy, but we will still definitely ask your question, Livy, and I think it was actually for Nicola, if Nicola is still with us. And yeah, amazing. So the question of Livy is on the subject of data and what is entering the model. So like when you presented this element a few minutes ago, some things are easier to measure than others. So any thought on how AI might be able to help us with this conundrum as opposed to simply amplifying current trends? Yeah, this is something we see a lot. So basically, how can we use AI not only to consolidate existing trends and predict the past?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I very much agree, and yeah, I want us to be very careful with this, and also think, think what we have in the data, what we don't have in the data. Again, like if you're building a model that doesn't, account for these aspects that are harder to measure, then you may get in trouble. You may end up you may have like good intentions as a planner or as someone who wants to deploy technology and end up doing something that's actually having not the effects that you would want, like unintended effects, adverse effects and whatnot. So I think one thing that is interesting is to again really think about what are the aspects that should be ideally integrated in the model. And again, also we can also not necessarily put everything into a model. So the one other aspect is really to try to see, or you can use the model as one tool and then have some other things in the package of what you are doing to also just mitigate these aspects and think again also, if at the end of the day the AI model is something that actually makes sense in this context, if potentially it's just not going to take into account certain things that are crucial, and then maybe you should not use AI, right? I mean, I really don't want to be here. It's not because this is called Urban AI, geospatial AI, that we're just like trying to sell that we should throw AI at any problem, right? In some cases, we actually should not. And I think that's again, that's also where I think it's very important to engage with the different stakeholders that are really, impacted, or like really at like where the stake is at play with the problem. So doing some consultations, doing all sort of initiative before, like while kind of doing the problem statement, and also after you have like your prototype, kind of like really having the stakeholders involved throughout like the life cycle of the project. So those are some some ideas, but this is a fundamental problem that cannot also necessarily be answered that easily, I think.
Thanks a lot, really, Nicola, for taking the time to answer the question. On this, I might just resonate. We organized, I think it was 1 year ago, with Cornell Tech, a webinar called "The Right Job, the Right Tool for the Right Job" with Tom Sanchez. So really, like, an amazing urban planners working with AI. So definitely feel free to have a look on this webinar, because it's treating exactly what you shared. So sometimes AI might be the right tool, but sometimes we can just use statistic or other elements. That's already the end of this webinar. Really, thanks a lot to our participants, students, so Sylvia, Farah, for taking the time to join and to share your journey. And it's really quite a pleasure to see that Urbania is bringing something to your own work and experience. Thanks a lot also to Nicola and Laura, who had to leave for sharing their own wisdom in this field of urban artificial intelligence. And obviously, thanks to our guide, Omer, for explaining with such clarity our different packages. Nicola, we will see you again very soon, actually, next week for the final session of your class.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Amazing. Well, thanks, everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Omer or myself. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
No.
Live, yeah.
Okay.